Welcome into the Soft Verbal Podcast. Neil McCready, Zach Berry here with you on a Friday afternoon. Zach's got a game to officiate today. I've got a 14-year-old to pick up. Zach just finished recording his own podcast with Adam Friedman of Rivals.com. Zach doesn't know this, but I'm going to try to get that and get that to you guys here as well. That's going to air tomorrow, right?
Yep, Saturday morning.
Yeah, so we'll get that to you. I'll get Zach to make sure he puts the links and stuff so that you guys can watch it. And we'll try to get that to you on rebelgrove.com as well this time, since we're talking recruiting and all of those things. We're brought to you by Dead Soxy. If you missed out on the BOGO, it's okay. You can still take advantage of the holiday, I start to say Hollywood sale, but it's not a Hollywood sale. It's a holiday sale, 35% off site-wide, excluding collaborations. All you have to do is go to deadsoxy.com, enter code HOLIDAYPRO. Holiday Pro. I'm coming to you from the Clark Ford Studios. Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi. 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is up to you. You can shop it around. You can do what I've done. What I really recommend that you do, and let's get into a Clark Ford today. You'll love the service. You'll love the product. You'll love everything about being part of the Clark Ford family. Corey really wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. People say, what does that mean? I can tell you, I know what it means because I've been a customer for a while now, and they just take care of you. They go the extra mile. They always do. It's important to them. So make the call. You'll start to see what I'm talking about. 662-257-1900. Zachary, how are you, sir?
Neil, doing well. Dreary, cold, wet day here in Nashville, but all is well. So yeah, it's been good.
All right, so let's hop into it. Luke Altmyer commits today. I'm so glad that's done for a number of reasons. Most of all, there's one fewer story in admin that I worry about accidentally hitting. And that one's been sitting there so long that I'm like used to. And so now I guarantee you what's going to happen is when I go into admin to move something or to publish or whatever, I'm going to be looking for that to get under it. You know what I mean? And it's going to drive me crazy for a while. But Luke Altmyer commits, 4-star quarterback from Starkville. This is the worst kept secret in the world for a while, but now that it's done, let's move forward because I think we all know what it means. There's a couple of analysis pieces. You've got a really good analysis piece. Chad Simmons of Rivals.com talked to Luke at length. So there's a whole lot of Luke Altmyer content if you're looking for Luke Altmyer content. Let's talk about his coattails. What I have heard that potentially he impacts a couple of wide receivers, Brandon Burkhalter and also Deion Smith. And I'm sure there's potentially more coattails from him. He's going to be at the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star Classic next week in Montgomery. I know some other targets are going to be there as well. What impact do you think Altmyer has on this class?
Could potentially have some defensive impact as well. I've mentioned on the board a couple times. We've talked about it. The fast rising linebacker from Germantown, John Lewis. When I spoke with him, he mentioned that he and Luke were good friends. He even gave Luke credit for his recruitment taking off when he retweeted some of his film and told folks to start looking at him. That could be a guy to keep an eye on. I like Ole Miss's chances right now for John. Supposed to talk to him at some point. I think it made its way on the board, but he was involved in a car accident with some of his teammates. So his phone was broken in the wreck. So he got back to me finally, and I told him, no rush, man. We'll talk whenever you're good. So
he got out of that okay, right? He sprained.
He's fine. I think he had a wrist injury, and I believe everyone else in the car is okay now. And obviously, don't quote me on that, but I think everyone's okay. But yeah, he and Luke are tight. And then, you mentioned Burkhalter, you mentioned Deion Smith. You and I have talked about that. I know Ole Miss is really pushing for Deion. I think Lane Kiffin and them really, and I think they're going to play. They're going to play all the games. They want to make a statement against LSU in a couple of weeks and win that game. Things are in flux down there in Baton Rouge, so you never know. Kids make decisions early on, and then if things change, they might want to look around a little bit. So I know they're going to recruit him until the very end. But in terms of just around the state, I think that Luke Altmyer, maybe a little quote subliminal message in his tweet where he said, "Stay in the SIP," and obviously stay in the SIP and go to Ole Miss with him. I mean, Ole Miss is after some pretty talented prospects in Mississippi right now, Neil. They're really going after Ty Cooper hard, McKeelan Pounders, the offensive lineman from Byhalia. They want those two. I mentioned Lewis. We talked about Buckhalter and Deion Smith, and then Elijah Sabatini. They want to get him back in the fold. He announced earlier today that he is committing tonight at 7 p.m.
I'm going to tell you my sources, which are probably in this case not as good as yours, but mine tell me that he's going to commit to Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think so too. I would back you there. But I mean, quarterbacks are the sexy position, and they're the type of, kids gravitate to quarterbacks. They're the natural leader on the field. We talk all the time about how defensive linemen are the toughest to get because everybody needs them, so everybody wants them. Quarterbacks, same way. Altmyer had some legitimate big-time offers. I mean, You had everywhere. Oregon, LSU, Alabama. I mean, Alabama was recruiting him real hard before they flipped Jalen Milroe from Texas. But
he's an Alabama kind of quarterback.
Yeah.
I've seen him play. He looks and plays like an Alabama quarterback. And I mean that as a compliment.
Let me throw this out to you, Neil. To me, if you could do the top half, bottom half comp, and look, I'll do it because who cares? Honestly, when I watch him, when I saw him at Elite 11, and when I watch his film, the bottom half, the feet, the awareness in the pocket, being able to maneuver, move, throw off platform, a lot of Shea Patterson in there. And I know people are going to laugh and, he was never any good, but you can't deny the ability that Shea had to create and move around and throw guys open. Top half, a lot of Matt Corral to like. Quick release, good zip on the ball. He doesn't have the arm talent that Matt has, which not many people do.
No, I was going to say.
But he surprised me at Elite 11. He was very accurate. They Dilfer and those guys do a nice job of putting them through the rigor, and they make them go all around and throw from all different arm slots. And kid's got some talent. Good size, 6'2", 190, 195, good build. And now that comp I threw out, half of that comp is high praise, but, it's just a comparison. But I like this pickup. I think that Kiffin and Levy made no bones about it. This is the guy we want in 2021, and they worked him and never quit recruiting him, and it paid off.
Yeah, it absolutely paid off. All right, let's talk about some of those guys in Mississippi that you just mentioned. We'll talk about. We'll start with as I think of them. We touched on Tavares Cooper. Now, the last I heard on him was yesterday, and again, your sources are probably a little better than mine. My sources just not confident that in the end they could pull him away from Mississippi State.
That one's been back and forth. Ole Miss had a ton of momentum early in the summer, and it moved into college football season. Mississippi State, though, they've dug in. He's probably number one on their board. If I'd have to guess, I've never seen their board, don't know, but Ty's a really good player. Really.
State does this every year, right? They pick a couple of kids in Mississippi, especially when things start to deteriorate. They pick a couple of kids in Mississippi and they sink their claws into them. And I think the two kids in Mississippi that they're trying to do that this year are Cooper and McKeelan Pounders. Yeah,
we've seen that over the years. Chris Jones, Jeffrey Simmons, Willie Gay, those types of guys that they were either at one point an Ole Miss commit or a heavy Ole Miss lean all the way up till signing day, and then Mississippi State was able to get it done. Cooper is one that I'm hearing the same thing you're hearing. It's changing day to day. It's really close. Ole Miss does have 3 family members on their football team that are from Louisville that are related to Cooper. So I don't think that ever really dictates a decision a lot, but that's something that they have. And I know that, and they need defensive help ASAP. And I think Cooper's a guy that can come in and I wouldn't start right away, but no, I think he could definitely factor in a 2 deep because he's big, he's physical, he can really run, and he's very versatile. He could play inside, he can play outside. I think he'd probably stand up and play a little 3-4 linebacker if they wanted him to. But yeah, that one's flipping day to day.
What about Pounders?
Pounders is an interesting one. He, much like the rest of them, they're having a little fun with the recruiting process. He made it very clear long ago that he was rethinking his commitment. If you're doing the Twitter watch, he took everything Mississippi State off his Twitter profile probably like a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, and then did the top 5 announcement and said that he was signing on December 16th. Which, if you're a Mississippi State fan, I don't think it's over for them, but it certainly gives you some concern.
Yeah.
If, hey, this guy's supposed to be committed. Why is he releasing in the top 5? He did the post where, hey, I'll be signing on December 16th at this time at Bahalia High School. He never said anything about signing with Mississippi State. So I think there is a lot of thinking that Pounders is going to have to do. We've joked about it. If you go to Mississippi State, you're going to be pass blocking a lot. And I've never been an offensive lineman. I don't know if you have. I'd imagine pass blocking 45 to 60 times a game is not very fun.
It's not doing what you like to do as an offensive lineman. I've not ever played the position, but I would think that you like to road grade a little bit and get physical and get after people. And all right, MJ Daniels is another guy from down in George County that I know we've talked a lot about.
Mm-hmm.
This week, I've heard a ton of Texas A&M buzz on him.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I don't. There's momentum there. That it obviously sounds like the Aggies.
I think so too. They're really pushing the McKinley Jackson pipeline. Hey, we got your buddy, your former teammate last year. Come to College Station, play on that same defense with him, reconnect with him. And look, I mean, all jokes aside, with A&M and the Colts and the band and the overalls, they're in talks right now to potentially backdoor a spot in the college football playoff. They're nationally relevant. They've only lost 1 game this year. They're having a hell of a season. Jimbo and them have done a nice job. Kellen Mond has played pretty well. That's hard to beat. I mean, at the end of the day, kids typically, relationships first. Probably say playing time, chance to have an impact early is second, but kids like being on that stage and that national stage, national prominence, things like that. I think that's appealing to MJ. Right now, Neil, I would say it's A&M, probably 60-40 over Mississippi State. Ole Miss has lost a lot of ground, but they've also they've got some other pieces. We mentioned Sabatini in the secondary, and then Markevius Brown. We've talked about him, the cornerback from IMG. But, Neil, I mean, they're not exactly pressed for secondary. The secondary class they have right now in 2021 is damn good.
Oh, it's like I talked to someone last night who said, look, if you're going to lose a guy that you really want, this might be the year and the position for it to be. I mean, they knew early on that secondary was going to be a critical thing for them, and they've addressed it. So you talked about Brown. Sounds like it's down to Ole Miss and Auburn. I like where Ole Miss is there, based on what I'm hearing. We talked about Sabatini. I think it's clear that's going to be Ole Miss. It looks like they're getting defensive backfield addressed. MJ Daniels or not.
Yeah, and the key for that is you mentioned the importance of building that secondary class and getting that help, because we've seen it every Saturday. They're playing a lot of guys. I mean, they got Miles Battle, a former receiver, playing corner. Tyler Knight's playing safety now. I mean, they're piecemealing it together right now in a weird season. I know it's 2020 has just been bizarre, but it's very, very obvious they need help. But you look at what they've built in this class already. Kendrick Breedlove, 6 foot 180. Dink Jackson, linebacker safety hybrid, 6 foot 185. Tysheem Johnson, under 6 feet, but a hell of a player, 180 pounds. DeMarco Williams, 5'11", 185. You sense the theme I'm getting to here. They're adding length, nice frame, guys that can run. Because, all due respect to Tylen, and Tylen would probably laugh and agree, he's not SEC size. So whether you can make plays or not, or you can be, Walmart brand Mike Hilton, that's all well and good, but you got to get dudes out there that can cover a guy like Braylon Brown that's lined up across the line from you. So they've made an emphasis on getting guys that are SEC size, speed ratio, frame.
So let's talk defensive line, another area where God knows Ole Miss has to address it. And I mean, we could,
yeah.
There's no spinning that defensive line play. I know Isaiah Iton put out a top 5 or 6 or 7 or something, but
a lot of Ole Miss buzz right now.
I think Ole Miss is getting him as of today.
I do too.
Today's December the 4th. I guess things could change in 12 days. Not that anything ever changes in 12 days in recruiting, but it feels like Ole Miss.
It does. You want to talk about SEC frame?
Yeah, he looks.
Isaiah's got it. I say this a lot. Looks like a dude Alabama would sign. Big, physical. He put together a fall camp video because Hutchinson has not played. They will play in the spring. Once that video got out, I mean, it was offers started coming left and right. Ole Miss has done a nice job recruiting him, and I just think that emphasis they put on, hey, look, you come here, you're playing day one.
Who's the competition there? I mean, I know he put out 6. He had I think Mississippi State and Arkansas, and I can't remember who else was on that list.
Yeah, State's on there on that top 5. I was actually surprised to see that. I don't think they're involved at all. It's mostly Florida State. Odell Haggins is doing a nice job recruiting him. A lot of Baylor. He's from Texas. And then Arkansas is in there as well. That's pretty much it. He got an offer from Maryland, and I thought that maybe he'd think about that a little bit, go up there and play in the DMV. But right now, I'd say probably Florida State and Baylor are the biggest competition for Ole Miss. But like you said, I agree with you. I think Ole Miss is in the lead, and I'd venture to say that he's theirs to lose right now. I think what Deke Adams and Blake Gideon has been instrumental in this recruitment as well. Being familiar with where he's from in Texas. I believe he's from the Houston area, but big physical edge rush guy, can kind of do it all. Like I said earlier with Cooper, he could stand up and maybe sit in some zone and then go get a quarterback if he rolls out left or right, or he can put his hand in the dirt and get after you. Very physical, strong, 6'4", 295. That's the kind of players that Ole Miss needs right now.
I know that they're still in on some other defensive linemen. Anybody else for this early period that you're keeping an eye on?
Demarcus Smith, the former Ole Miss commit from Parker.
Yeah, he's recommitting to Ole Miss on Monday.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, we can do this secret thingy, but that's what's going on.
Well, shit, Neil. He was the secret commit. Yeah, he announced he's committing on Monday. I talked to someone earlier, actually before we started the show, close to the Mississippi State program. They said they expect Ole Miss to get him. Another guy, big, long, kind of in that mold, a little bit thicker, but kind of like a Ryder Anderson. Very long, athletic guy, can get out in space and make plays. State was really pushing him over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And I think at one point State had him in the bag, and we're probably looking to add him to their 2021 class. But Ole Miss, Deke Adams, Derek Nix, being from over there in Alabama, kind of righted the ship a little bit. And, I expect him to join the Ole Miss class on Monday. So we've been hinting at it. This wave of momentum is starting to grow. Ole Miss on a 3-game win streak. I think players are seeing they play an exciting brand of football. Coaching staff is fun. Kids are having fun. And if you're a defensive player, there's no better place you'd rather be than Oxford because you can play.
There's immediate playing time available to you. Feels like we're forgetting a wide receiver or two. We talked about Smith some. We talked about – did we finish talking about Buckalter?
Yeah. Buckhalter's going to sign with Ole Miss.
Okay.
I think he's tight with Luke Altmyer. And
you and I are not good at this drama building. We've got to get better at the drama building. We're just we're not good at it. We're almost just kind of reporting what we know and leaving it at that. And we need to do give me some mystery recruits or surely there's a super secret private player from somewhere in the Scandinavian countries that is coming over.
Yeah.
That runs a 4.140 and he's 6'7", 308.
Yeah. You misspoke earlier when you said Deion Smith. It's Devontae Smith. He's the one that's he's going to transfer to Ole Miss. So big news there. Well, we can stay in Texas, and you mentioned receiver.
JJ
Henry. Like everybody knows, Elijah Moore, and rightly so, going to go to the NFL, having a hell of a season, breaking records left and right.
Yep.
Got a website, adasopen.com. That's pretty cool. Checked it out.
Pretty
nice job. Nice job by Ole Miss. Yeah, JJ is in that Elijah Moore mold. 5'10", 170, super shifty guy, can play everywhere. Plays at McKinley North in McKinley, Texas. He does it all, out wide, slot. He returns kicks, a little running back here and there. Really good route runner for a high school player. I watched some of his film last night and this morning. I was pretty impressed. Now it's, needs some fine tuning. He's only 17 years old, but for a high school guy, when you're that good and you're that fast, you can just kind of be better than everyone else. But pretty good route runner, and I think he is going to, eventually be the potential heir apparent to Elijah in the slot. That guy's special. Elijah, seeing him in person on the field, that's a, as you like to say, that's a different cat. But JJ, I think Ole Miss is sitting in a good spot with him right now. You still got Baylor, you still got Texas hanging around, but man, you're talking about things that are in flux. Austin, Texas, and the 100 acres. Who knows what's going on there? So I think they've lost a lot of ground with him.
Yeah, I said yesterday in the thread that I think he's coming to Ole Miss. I do. I think I'd go.
If I had to pick, I'd do the same.
I'd go so far as to say that's almost done. Like that decision made. So I guess people want to know about timetable. We talked about Sabatini later today. Smith is on Monday. I was told earlier today there were at least a couple that were probably coming next week. I mean,
Buckhalter.
My guess would be him. What's kind of your anticipation for how many sign on the 16th?
So that are not committed, obviously.
Or just in general.
I'd say looking at Tysheem Johnson's gonna sign early. Altmyer.
Okay, I realized we left one out that we need to touch on. What's the latest on Talik Robbins?
So I just got off with Adam Friedman, who's the East Coast analyst for Rivals. He said he doesn't really know. I don't think that's a bad thing for Ole Miss. I think it's just Talik I think everything kind of happened really fast, and he wanted to take a step back and just relax and wait till the 16th. I still think it's Ole Miss. And now he's another guy, didn't get to play his senior year. So that obviously affected his ranking. And look, the rankings don't really matter this year anyway, but another immediate impact defensive tackle. We've talked about Smith and Iton. I think Iton's actually listed as a tackle on Rivals, but I think he can do both. Robbins is that beef you need in the middle. Big guy, 6'2", 6'3", pushing 300. I think Ole Miss is still there. A&M, I don't know. I wouldn't say they passed. They've got a little bit bigger fish. They got some lines that are a little bit deeper out there that they're going after some other guys, Shamar Turner, Taiwan Malone, Tunmi Sadalele. So I like Ole Miss's chances for Talik Robbins. He will be signing early. We pretty much touched on most of the guys that are going to sign early. I think John Lewis has decided to sign early.
Yeah.
That's big. I think Ole Miss wants to get that done. I think they lead right now for him, get him signed, get him on campus, because guy that blew up his senior year, but they want to get their hands on him, get him in a weight room, see what they've got to work with. Yeah, most of the Mississippi guys are signing early. So Ty Cooper, Buckhalter, and I actually don't know about Deion Smith. I don't know if he signs early or not. I believe he does.
I think Smith does.
Which could bode well for Ole Miss. Kind of flavor of the month right now. People's, most exciting team in the country. Maybe he kind of rides that wave that we're talking about with momentum, and Ole Miss is desperately trying to flip him. Very, very, very good receiver. We haven't talked much about him because he's been committed to LSU so long. But, I mean, you add Deion Smith and Buckhalter along with Braylon Brown. That's reloading.
Look, when you see decommitments this late in the deal, and again, my best of luck to all those guys. When you see that, there's usually a reason for it. It's one of two things. Either the program is imploding or the staff is making room for other guys, encouraging guys to, hey, explore your other options. If we can help you, whatever.
Yeah.
This program right now is certainly not imploding. We've seen imploding Ole Miss, and this is not imploding Ole Miss. This is the opposite of that. So clearly things are moving in the right direction for a bunch of guys, and you don't try to say this diplomatically. You don't accept a decommitment without a fight unless you know you've got something that you think is better on the horizon. Is that a fair way to say it? Because I don't want to. I'm not comfortable denigrating 17-year-olds on their or 8-year-olds on their athletic ability.
Well, we've talked about it before, Neil. This staff is not just taking guys to take guys. So it wasn't like Drew Donnelly and Devin Lee and Cam Brady just forgot how to play football.
Right.
It's not. This isn't some. Oh well, they suck now. We got to get rid of them. We got to cut bait with them. No, like there's a plan.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that they can't play. I mean, all those guys got plenty of offers. I mean, Devin Lee's probably going to go to Virginia Tech, and then the other two receivers, they'll find a home because they can play. So, it's nothing like that.
Last thing, you mentioned Taiwan Malone. Let's just a quick update on him. I find it interesting all the different schools that think they lead. It's down to these two, et cetera. And there's enough differential that makes me wonder, wow, who is really in this? I mean, I've thought for the longest time it was Ole Miss, A&M, and Tennessee, probably in that order. And I think I still do, but it's funny how like Florida State thinks they're in it. And, people try not to rip people in the network, but there are sites in the network that are more homerish than others that never concede a recruit until the recruit, And so that happens a little. I mean, I have felt a confidence kind of, not an arrogance, not that it's in the bag or anything like that, but that Ole Miss probably wouldn't trade position with anyone else. But it's interesting to see how many people that cover other schools are like, no, I don't know where you're getting that.
The one thing that's been kind of interesting to me is the Tennessee being a factor. And I'm not saying they're not a factor. Jeremy Pruitt's a hell of a recruiter. The one thing I never understood was when, people kept bringing up baseball with Tennessee, and Tennessee's not on that level with Ole Miss and A&M. Like maybe they will be eventually, but they're not. Taiwan is very serious about baseball. We've said this plenty of times on the show. We've said it on the board. The kid it's not a side hustle. Like he is very, very serious. So I think it's Ole Miss and A&M right now. I think Ole Miss is in the lead. He's visited Oxford. He's been able to come to Oxford to see the campus. This was pre-pandemic, so he was able to meet with coaches. He's talked with Jerry Neely. He's talked with John Rice Plumlee. It's a tangible thing that he's been able to see, that Ole Miss is allowing guys to play both sports and to have the freedom to do both. Because a lot of, there's probably some staffs out there that'll say, yeah, man, you can play both. Like, oh, you want to play football and basketball? Football and baseball? Yeah, come on. No. And then they get there, and it's like, no. We need you here from 8 to 2. Well, I got baseball practice at 10. Well, tough shit. You can't do it. But I talked with Adam earlier today, Adam Friedman, the East Coast analyst for Rivals. He's echoing what we're saying. He thinks Ole Miss is got a lead right now. A&M and Tennessee are in there. He mentioned it, and I've said it before. I'm curious to see how it affects Tennessee's standing. You know, they fired Baumgartner in the middle of the season, the defensive line coach. So who are they going to hire to replace him? And then you talk about programs that are, you know, in flux, maybe imploding. Tennessee's on the verge. So what's going to be going on in Knoxville in February when he looks to sign? So I think it's Ole Miss out front, and Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies are nipping at their heels. I like Ole Miss's chances here because Carl Lafferty, Mike Bianco, Mike Clement have done a fantastic job recruiting him. Chris Partridge, obviously the heavy hitter on the staff, he's been on him for quite some time. And look, I mean, we've said it over and over and over. Taiwan's a guy, legitimate Rivals 100 dude that can come in, play right away.
Yeah,
he's a day one impact guy. So probably going to have to wait your turn in College Station. Probably going to have to wait a little bit in Knoxville. Ole Miss, you can come be the guy.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. I know you got a game to officiate. Hope it goes well. It's going to be cold out there, so, you know, bundle up, Zach. Take your hand warmers.
Keep my head on a swivel.
Sorry about that.
I don't know if you saw that clip of that official in Texas, but gotta be weary of players coming off the sideline.
You do. You got to be aware. His awareness was not good. All right, we'll stop there again. We'll come back with something a little lengthier next week, but we were a little crushed for time today, so it is what it is. So thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks to you, Zach, for your time. Thanks to people at Dead Soxy. Don't forget deadsoxy.com. It's Holiday Pro is the promo code. Holiday Pro, one word, at deadsoxy.com. So until next week, for Zach Berry, I'm Neil McCready. Take care.